Imagine standing completely alone, going head to head against 450 prophets who worshipped a false god. That's exactly where Elijah found himself on Mount Carmel. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing something a little different, something that will ignite your spirit and remind you of just how powerful faith can be. We're counting down the top 10 biblical stories of unshakable faith. These are stories of people who had held on to God's promises even when the odds were stacked against them. So let's dive right in. And hey, if you love stories that strengthen your faith, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Imagine standing completely alone, going head to head against 450 prophets who worshipped a false god. That's exactly where Elijah found himself on Mount Carmel. In a time when Israel was turning away from God, Elijah stood firm. He challenged the prophets of Baal to call down fire from their god to consume a sacrifice. They tried all day, shouting, dancing, and even cutting themselves, but nothing happened. Then it was Elijah's turn. He just didn't call on God. He drenched the altar with water to make the challenge even harder. And what did he do next? And what did God do? He sent fire from heaven that consumed everything and even the water-soaked altar. Elijah's bold faith showed that when you stand with God, even when you're alone, you're never truly alone. Again, imagine being told to build a massive ship because a global flood is coming. And it hasn't even rained yet. That's exactly what happened to Noah. For years, Noah walked on that ark, following God's instructions to the letter. Despite the mockery and laughter of everyone around him, people thought he was crazy, but Noah's faith never wavered. When the rains finally came, his obedience did not only save his family, but every living creature on earth. Sometimes faith means following God even when no one understands why. For me, the story of Noah is not just in the safety of every living creature. I think the faith into the story of Noah is the fact that Noah built this ark for over 100 years and still had faith in God who had sent him. Here's a woman who has been suffering for 12 long years from a condition that left her isolated and considered unclean by the society. She had spent all her money on doctors, but instead of getting better, she grew worse. But then Jesus came to town. She believed that if she could just touch the hem of his garments, she would be healed. And that's exactly what she did. Quietly, humbly, and with very deep faith, and instantly she was healed. Jesus felt her touch and said, "Daughter, your faith has made you whole." This story reminds us that sometimes just a simple act of faith can bring about miraculous change in our lives. For number 7, we have one of the most heart-wrenching tests of faith in the entire Bible. God had promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations through his son Isaac. But then God asked Abraham to do the unthinkable, to sacrifice that very same son, the same Isaac. Without hesitation, Abraham obeyed. Imagine the pain in his heart as he led Isaac up Mount Moriah, carrying the wood for the sacrifice. Just as Abraham raised the knife, God intervened and provided a ram for the sacrifice instead. Abraham's faith teaches us that the true obedience means trusting God, even when his plan doesn't seem to make sense. King Nebuchadnezzar commanded everyone to bow down to a golden statue or face death in a blazing furnace. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused. Their faith in God was unbreakable. Even when the king threatened to throw them into the furnace, they said, "Our God is able to save us. But even if he does not, we will never serve your gods." They were thrown into the fire, of course. Yet, not a single hair on their heads was burned. And when the king looked into the flames, he saw a fourth figure walking with them, an angel of the Lord indeed. This story reminds us that God doesn't always keep us from the fire, but he will always be with us in the fire. If you need more details about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I have a detailed story on my YouTube channel. Do well to watch it. Let's call this second half. Now to the second half of the story. Number 5, we have the story of Daniel. Daniel's faith was so strong that he refused to stop praying, even when the law was passed, making prayer punishable by death. As punishment, Daniel got thrown into the den of hungry lions, but Daniel did not panic. He trusted God completely, and God sent an angel to shut the mouth of the lions. The next morning, Daniel emerged unharmed, proving that God honors those who stand firm in their faith. For number 4, Hannah was heartbroken. Year after year, she prayed for a child, while others ridiculed her for her barrenness, yet she never gave up hope. One day, she poured her heart out to God in the temple, promising that if he gave her a son, she would dedicate him to his service. God answered her prayer. She gave birth to Samuel, who would become one of Israel's greatest prophets. Hannah's faith teaches us the power of persistent prayer and trusting God's timing. Now to our top 3. For number 3, just imagine being trapped between the Red Sea and the mighty Egyptian army. That's where Moses and the Israelites found themselves, seemingly without hope. But Moses did not panic. He lifted his staff in faith and God did the impossible. God parted the Red Sea, creating a dry path for the Israelites to escape. This story is a reminder that when we truly trust God fully, He makes a way even where there seems to be no way. David and Goliath. Now, for our number 2, we have David. He was a young shepherd boy when he faced Goliath, a giant warrior who terrified an entire army. But David wasn't afraid. With nothing but a sling and 5 smooth stones, and with unwavering faith in God, he struck down the mighty giant with just a single shot. David's victory reminds us that no obstacle is too big when our faith is bigger than our fear. And now to our number 1, drum rolls. Job had everything: wealth, health, and family. Then in a devastating turn of events, he lost it all. But even in his deepest suffering, Job never turned his back on God. He questioned, he wept, but he never cursed God. And in the end, God restored Job's fortune, blessing him with even more than he had before. Job's story teaches us that faith doesn't mean we will never suffer. It only means trusting that God's plan is bigger than our pain. Each of these stories shows us that faith isn't just believing, it's living that belief even in the hardest moments. Which of these stories inspire you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder of how powerful faith can be. Until next time, bye!